And it's just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Evan Carmichael of evancarmichael.com. Evan believes in entrepreneurs. At 19, he built then sold a biotech software company. At age 22, he was a venture capitalist helping raising $500,000 to $15 million. He now runs evancarmichael.com, a popular website for entrepreneurs. He breathes and bleeds entrepreneurship. He's obsessed, aiming to help 1 billion entrepreneurs change the world. He has set 2 world records, uses a stand-up desk, rides a Vespa, raises funds for Kiva, wears 5-toe shoes, and created entrepreneur trading cards. He speaks globally, but Toronto is his home. He loves being married, his son, salsa dancing, League of Legends, and the Toronto Blue Jays. He's the author of Your One Word, The Powerful Secret to Building a Life and Business That Matters. I can't believe I got you to come on my show, buddy. You're talking to dentists and dentists, physicians, lawyers. They go to school for 8, 10, 12 years, and they just learn calculus and physics and geometry and biochemistry. They don't learn one word from where you come from. How could dentists be better entrepreneurs?
That's a great question, and thanks for having me on board. I think the first part is to see yourself as an entrepreneur. I think a lot of not just dentists, but a lot of professionals just see themselves as doing their craft, but not actually seeing themselves as a business owner and all the things that are involved in it. You know, like you have to build a team. You got to be a leader. You have to be a manager. You know, you have to worry about customer service. Like, when do you learn all this? You don't learn that in dental school. You don't learn how to be a leader in dental school and customer service and all those things. And so I think going in with that approach and then understanding that, listen, this is what I'm going to learn in school. I'm going to learn some of the great kind of tactical things of how to be in my profession, but I need to supplement my knowledge. I need to learn from great entrepreneurs if I want to build a great business myself.
So it sounds like about 20% or more of the people listening to the show email me always, howard@dentaltown.com, and tell me who you are, how old you are. But it seems like about 20-25% are still in dental school. They're D1s, D2s, D3s, D4s. What could these children in dental school do while they're in dental school to supplement their education so that they come out, they'll have more of an entrepreneurial business understanding instead of just knowing the difference in geometry and trig?
Yeah, no, for sure. One, I would look at who is doing a great job in my state in dentistry. Like who is an entrepreneur? Because most dentists, they have their businesses, but like who's really doing well? Who's really done a good job of branding themselves, of marketing themselves, of providing great customer service? Who's the ones who's just really doing well in your area? And go try to learn from them. It could be just as simple as asking to take them out to coffee. Like, listen, I love the operation you've built. I'm a new dental student. I just respect and admire so much what you've done. I'd love to pick your brain for a cup of coffee if you get a chance. And people like to give back. Like if somebody came to you and said, hey, I would love to pick your brain over a cup of coffee. If you have 20 minutes, I really respect what you're doing. You would give them that time. And then it may evolve into something else. Like it may evolve into you interning there or doing some part-time work there, or maybe even getting a job there to start. On top of that, I'd be looking at what entrepreneurs do you look up to outside the dentistry world. Like there's nobody that comes to mind, at least for me, who's the dentist of America. Like I don't think anybody's done just an insanely amazing job in that field, where you can learn from a lot of people who've had success outside. Like what can you learn from Elon Musk? If he's your favorite entrepreneur, how can you learn from him and apply that to your business in dentistry? What can you learn from a Steve Jobs or Oprah Winfrey or whoever it is that you look up to in the world of entrepreneurship and apply that down to your business?
Hold up your book. You wrote a book called Your One Word. What was your journey? What were you thinking? What made you write a book? You say you have a son. I always thought writing a book was like having a child. I mean, it takes you 9 months to write it. It's like, it's a huge commitment. What was going on in your journey that made you want to have another child called your book, Your One Word by Evan Carmichael?
The idea there is I was having success in my business. I just felt like I could be doing more. My life didn't suck. My business wasn't in the tubes. I just felt like I was nowhere close to my potential. I don't know how often, your listeners are maybe feeling that, but it's like, you're doing a good job, but there's just so much more out there. You're nowhere close to your ceiling. How do you go out and find it? And so for me, it started with self-awareness. If you understand what it is that you stand for as a human being, if you understand what your one most important core value is, which becomes your one word, then you can start to apply that into your business and also into your life so that you are attracting customers that are more aligned with what you're doing. You're running projects and campaigns that are exactly aligned with who you're supposed to be, and you can bring that to your life as well. And so I did this all in kind of small tests through my own business, and then had massive success doing it, and then interviewed entrepreneurs across North America to figure out, I'm not the only one who's done this. They've built their businesses around their one word as well, and interviewed them anywhere from someone who built a $50,000 full-time income for themselves up to a $150 million revenue company. So it's a really impactful way to be able to stand out, separate yourself from the market, especially looking at somebody like dentists. Like, how do I know? Why should I pick you instead of somebody else? If I go to Google and I type in Phoenix dentist, how many people are going to show up? You got to give people a reason to pick you over your competition.
So you're supposed to answer 5 core questions with one word? Like, what makes you happy? What connects your happiness? What trait do you hate? What's your constant? Is this really who you are?
You're supposed to figure out who you are in one word. What's the most important one word core value to you? So like, who's Howard in one word?
Father.
What do you stand for? What's that?
Father to my 4 sons.
Father, great. So now being a father, how do you bring that to your business, right? How do you bring being a father to your business? Because now you can apply that to being a father for all your clients. That notion of what fatherhood means, if maybe that means being strong, maybe that means being a leader, maybe that means love and caring, like however that breaks down for you. When you understand what it is that you stand for, when you have a clear sense of identity, then you can bring that to your business so that you stand out against all the competition.
So what's your one word?
Believe.
Belief. Talk about that.
So believe to me means you have to believe in what you're doing. So you have to have the passion in the work that you're creating. It means that you have to have self-confidence. That's what most people think about believe, self-confidence. And the conviction to follow through, like believe that it's going to work out. And so all the projects that I touch are around believe. This interview is about believing in people. The content I create on my YouTube channel that maybe you've seen is around inspiring people to believe in themselves more. And everything that I touch around believe just does better. And it's not just a marketing thing, it's because it comes from who I am as an individual. So for you, anything that you touch that was around father, like whatever fatherhood means to you, you get that sense of pride. If you could bring that to your business and everything you touch, it's going to do better.
Yours is believe. Believe in yourself, passion, self-confidence. I want to take the opposite of believe. Seems like a lot of dentists believe in a lot of self-limiting beliefs. A lot of dentists I don't think can thrive because they believe in self-limiting thoughts. Like I remember when the Berlin Wall fell, all the dentists in Poland and Russia were telling me, well, you don't understand. You're an American. You don't get it. These communist people have had the government take care of them and their body, cradle to grave, and they'll never, ever pay their own money to fix their tooth. And I call bullshit. And they go, oh, you're just an American. You don't understand. You don't get it. And now the Berlin Wall in '89 and dentistry has blossomed in Russia and Poland because all these communist chicks didn't want to walk around without their front tooth. And the same girl who bought an iPhone is going to pay to have her front tooth fixed. And so that self-limiting belief that if the government didn't pay for it, they would never pay their own money for their health care. What other self-limiting beliefs do you think dentists have and walk around with?
Yeah, and there's tons, and it's not just dentists, it's people, it's humans. I think most people are not living up to their potential and have no idea even how to get close to it. I think one of the biggest limiting beliefs that people walk around with is that they're not good enough. Who am I to do this? Who am I to be the guy to go to Russia to start that business? Who am I to start a podcast for dentists? Who am I to start a website to try to help my community? A lot of people have that mentality of, who am I to do this? I'm not good enough. I didn't go to school for this. I haven't been trained for this, so I'm not good enough to do it. So that's a huge one. Another one is people don't accept responsibility for their life. They blame the people around them for their lack of success. They're not more successful because of whoever the president is, or because of what their parental situation was growing up, or what school they did go to or didn't go to, or how much resources they had growing up. And to some extent, yes, growing up, you are under, the rule of law of your parents, and you are influenced by them and told what to do. But at some point, you become an adult. It's like you can't keep blaming your parents when you're 45 years old. Like at some point, you have to take responsibility for your life and say, I'm here because of me. It's not the president's fault. It's not the currency's fault. It's not my local economy's fault. Like, it's my fault, and I'm going to fix it. And as soon as you do that, that's when life starts to change. That's when your business starts to change.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I have two very close friends, and one of them never has had a drink in his life because his father, he grew up with an abusive, drunk father. The other one is an alcoholic who blames his alcoholism because he turned out just like his dad, who was a drunk. So it's like, okay, there you go. So, it's the glass half full, half empty. So I got a friend that won't drink because his dad's a drunk, and a friend that's drunk because his dad's a drunk. Which one is it? So which one is it? Do I learn from my dad, or do I just be my dad? So humans can rationalize anything.
100%. And a lot of people just live in that deferred blame environment because it's so much easier. It sucks to take responsibility. It sucks to say I'm here because of me, because I haven't done the work. It's nice to just be able to blame somebody else and say, oh, well, it's my dad's fault. And when you're 8 years old, maybe it is your dad's fault. But when you're, 28 years old, it's not your dad's fault anymore. Like, you got to take responsibility for your life. And maybe you had an amazing father, or maybe you had a terrible one. It doesn't matter. Now it's your life. Like, you got to start making decisions for yourself. And so I would encourage people to, take a hard look in the mirror and say, tell yourself, the reason why I'm not more successful is, and then fill in that blank. Like, the reason I am not more successful is because, and whatever comes to mind, that's going to be your limiting excuse. You're going to blame somebody, or you're going to feel like you're not good enough, or you're going to feel like you didn't have the resources, or whatever it is. That's what you need to push through. And before any of the strategies and tactics that you're going to learn from books or seminars or, any of those things, before any of that's going to work, you got to fix your mindset. You got to take responsibility, accountability for where you are right now, and that you decided that you're going to change it.
So if my homies go to Amazon and buy your book, one word, how, which, by the way, it's amazing. I mean, you got 87 5-star reviews. That's just crazy. You must have a very big family with lots of cousins and aunts and nephews and nieces all giving you all these 5 stars. Good. How would they, if they bought this book, your one word, The Powerful Secret to Creating a Business and Life That Matters, how do you think they would apply this book to their life?
So it starts off applying it to your life. It starts off figuring out what it is that you stand for. And then once you understand what your one word is, then it forces you to reflect. Like, if your one word is father, then you got to start looking at, okay, am I doing my duty? Like, am I a good enough father? Am I waking up today and I'm doing what I need to do to be who the person is that I say I want to be? It immediately starts causing some reflection onto the things that you're doing in your life. Then you can bring it to your business. And it's meant to be a book for people who want to build entrepreneurial companies. Say, well, how do I bring this to my company? And it's so important for dentists because typically dentists are just really terrible marketers. And you don't learn this. You don't learn this in dentistry school. You don't learn how to market yourself properly. And so understanding, I call this core selling, like, people buy the why of what you're doing more than the how. They care about why you're doing what you're doing. So, for example, if your one word was family, you could be the family dentist. And that comes across in your marketing, your branding, how you treat people. Like, think about when I walk into your dentist's office, what's on the walls? How am I greeted? Who are the hygienists that I hire? They better be family focused and family oriented. Now, maybe you hate kids. Like, Maybe family is not your thing. Like, don't do it for marketing reasons. It's got to be something that comes from the core of what's inside you, right? Like, if you just can't stand 3-year-olds screaming and running around your dental practice, don't bill yourself as the family person, because that's not what you're about. Maybe what you're about is experience. Like, you are the best at what you do, and you really value experience. So now when I walk into your dentist's office, what's on the walls now? It's not family pictures of people having fun. It's your degrees, and you're up on the latest news.
I want to change gears completely, because I know my homies. I know them so well. I've been a dentist for 30 years. A lot of dentists, they're doing a repetitive task. I mean, they're doing fillings and crowns, and they've done 10,000 of each one, and a lot of them start to get burned out. And I've noticed in the last 2 years, America, I don't like to talk about religion, sex, politics, violence, but the politics has gotten really toxic, and a lot of dentists, they're burned out, they're cranky, they don't like what's happening around them. And so you're this positive, optimistic guy, you're one word. What would you say to a dentist who's listening to you? Is just he's 40, 50 years old, he's burned out, he's cranky, he's living in toxic times, there's a lot of division. How do you stay positive in a toxic world?
So I think, especially as an entrepreneur, we have the good fortune of being able to create the environment around us. Like, you are an entrepreneur. You get to choose who's on your team. You get to choose who your customers are coming in. I see entrepreneurs as a force for good. I think all the world's major problems will be solved by entrepreneurs. They're not going to be solved by the government. It's not going to be solved by big corporations. It's going to be solved by people with ideas who want to make a positive impact. And you can make that positive impact even on a small scale in your community. Think about how many people that you're seeing on a regular week through your office. How many lives you have the possibility to be able to change. If your one word is father and you want to be a mentor, you have an opportunity every day to be a mentor to the people in your community. If you took that role, going in and saying, I'm going to be a father today, and yes, you have 4 wonderful boys that you're a father to at home, but I'm going to be a father in my dental practice. I'm going to be a father to my hygienist. I'm going to be a father to the people who are at my reception desk. I'm going to be a father to every person who walks through my doors. And now it's not just about giving them a filling. It's about leaving an impact. It's about making a mark on their lives. It's about being a father to them. And when you have that kind of deeper purpose in your practice, it doesn't just do better. You feel way more fulfilled because you find meaning in the work that you're doing, as opposed to just filling a cavity.
Growing up Catholic, my favorite Catholic role model was always Mother Teresa, and I loved her quote. She says, well, if you can't feed all the poor, just feed one. If you can't help all the poor, just help one. And if I was going to be an entrepreneur, I'm never going to be an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but I can be a little miniature Elon Musk in my own little dental office. But you're right, people like Elon Musk are going to change the world, not a politician.
Yeah, and thousands of dentists can change the world, right? Like, if you go out and you are father to the people coming through your office, how many people are you touching every single day? And they go off, and that has a ripple effect around your community. I think you should go into your practice every day feeling like, I'm making my community better. My goal today is I'm going to make my community, maybe I'm not making America better. Maybe I'm not playing on that level, but my hometown where I'm going to go work, that intersection in the 5-block radius around where I am, it's going to get better because I'm there.
Yeah, and that's why I tell dentists. I mean, when I opened up in Phoenix, I thought what I was doing was a waste of time, because I was drilling, filling, billing all these fillings when Phoenix didn't even have the most basic prevention of water fluoridation. So I blocked off Fridays, and I was so dumb and young at 24, I thought I could fluoridate Phoenix in 2 or 3 weeks. Ended up taking me every Friday for 2 years before me and my team fluoridated Phoenix. But I thought that was what really bonded my team back in 87, 88, 89, that, we had a big purpose here. We opened up a dental office, but our big goal was to reduce disease, missing, and filled teeth. And we focused on fluoridating the water and going into all the elementary schools, teaching how to brush and floss, instead of just sitting there treating disease. I mean, if you don't want just a bunch of sick patients every day. You want to feel like that after you served an area for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, that their oral health was better after you left. Like Mom always said, Boy Scouts always said, leave the playground better than you found it. I mean, when we were little, every time we left the park, we had to carry out more trash than we carried in, just try to make your little impact. But what about the bottom line, though? You're talking about purpose and meaning and fulfillment, but can you make any more money with the book? One word?
Yeah, that's how. Like, if you focus on experience, like I said as an example, right? Like that's your core value. That's your one word. And so you think about, how am I going to brand myself? I'm going to brand myself as the experienced dentist. And you're going to attract a different clientele. You're going to attract clientele who will pay you more because they value experience. And you're not just hiring any dental hygienist, you're hiring the one who has the most experience. And so when I walk in, the whole vibe of your office is about experience. And some people, the people who value experience, who value what you value, will pay you more for it. Because right now, I can't tell the difference between most dentists in most markets, right? You just go to Google and you'll type in, Phoenix dentist, and you'll see some Google reviews that pop up. And whoever's near the top, that's who you're just going to pick and show up and hope that it works out as a great experience. That's not a great way to market yourself, right? Where if I clearly understand that you are the family dentist, or you are the experienced dentist, or you are whatever it is, then some people won't like that. That's fine. Let them self-eliminate. But the people who you want to have in, who value what you value, will want to come and they'll want to pay you more for it.
Do you, I'm just curious, when I think of Canada and business people, a big popular show is Shark Tank, and Mr. Wonderful. Isn't he from Toronto where you're at?
He's from Canada. I don't know if he's from Toronto, but he's Canadian for sure.
And is it true he's running for the Prime Minister, or that was a thought he had, then he withdrew?
He was, but he withdrew because he couldn't speak French properly.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Quebec is one of our provinces,
sure.
And it's expected that you can do, English and French and do all the debates and represent the people well there. And he was taking French lessons and trying to pick it up, but we all learn it growing up, but we don't use it on a day-to-day basis. My French is not fantastic. And so, so he said he was running, and then he pulled out and supported somebody else.
Huh. So is he one of your role models? Who are your business role models that, like, your book, one word? What role model? You mentioned Elon Musk. What role models have impacted you? And you've interviewed so many. I love your YouTube channel. But what role models do you think would be good for a dentist?
So what's good for me may not be what great's for dentists. I think for me, my biggest role models are my parents. They taught me not much about business, but they taught me just how to be a human being. Believe comes from them. How to treat people, how to work hard, all of that stuff came from them. Apart from that, from a business context, I learned from everybody. I think you could learn from anybody who's had success. And we profile a lot of entrepreneurs, but we've also we've had politicians on, we've had athletes, we've had spiritual leaders, we've had musicians and actors. I think you can learn from anybody who's had success, even if you disagree with them. And so the goal is not for me to be the next Elon Musk or for any of the dentists to be the next Elon Musk. It's to pick and choose different things from different people to help you be the best version of yourself. And so I learn something from everybody that we've done a video of. We do 3 videos a day. I review every video that goes up, and I've learned something from that video. And
you do 3 a day?
3 a day. We've done 5,000 videos, 3 a day.
And how long is your average video?
Between 10 and 20 minutes typically.
10 and 20 minutes 3 times a day? My gosh, how do you find all these guys?
A lot of it is based off of feedback. People write in to say, hey, can you do this person? Can you do this person? It's like people I've never heard of before.
Ryan sent him an email telling him, you should do Howard Farran, but don't say Ryan Farran. Just say Ryan F. Just Ryan F. period, somewhere in Arizona. That is amazing. Another thing I see dentists kind of take issue with, some dentists on Dental Town will say, well, if you want to be successful, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people say the immediate first reaction is, well, define success. How would you define success? Because it seems to push a raw button. Because some people maybe insinuates that money's successful. Other people might, say, well, relationships are successful, or how can that? Like a lot of people say Steve Jobs wasn't successful because his personal life was kind of crazy. And they're
Sure.
saying, how can you say Steve Jobs was successful? I don't know if his if his own child would say he was successful. So how do you define success?
So for me, success is having an impact. I want to do things that are impactful. I think though, I don't think people need to get so pissed off. So Steve Jobs was a fantastic entrepreneur and a terrible father, maybe a terrible human being. Great, you don't have to be Steve Jobs. Pull the things that you like from him and ditch the rest. If I'm doing a top 10 rules for success for somebody, not all 10 have to be applicable to your life. Find the one that makes sense and use that and run with it. That maybe the people had the best relationship ever, were your neighbors. And nobody's ever heard of these people, but you just love how they treat each other and how they treat their kids and how, their life motto. Great. Learn that from them. But maybe they were broke. So go learn about making money from somebody else, right? It's not all at the expense. You don't have to be a douchebag to make money. You could do it your way, right? And so that's a constant struggle. It's not about trying to be the next Steve Jobs or Elon Musk. It's the constant evolution to be the best version of yourself. And if you value different things from different people, that's great. Pull the best from them and discard the rest.
I think of you as a motivational speaker and really an armchair psychologist. I've watched a lot of your videos, so I want you to put on your psychologist hat. A lot of dentists get in a bad attitude because they see people dropping $800 on an iPhone and flying to Disney World, and then they come in their office. Half of Americans don't have dental insurance, and they're like, well, I can't do it because I don't have any dental insurance. Last night we were talking to a lady on the phone, called me, and I went to her Facebook page. She is about every month, she's got a picture of her in the Southwest Airlines flying to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. And she's calling me, all confused because she broke her tooth, but she doesn't have dental insurance. And I said, well, for the price of one of those plane tickets, as you jet setting around the United States, you could have fixed your filling. And a lot of dentists just get mad that you buy your own house, your car, your iPhone, and then you're paralyzed if someone else, your employer or government, isn't paying to get your front tooth fixed. How do you get the dentist to be more positive and optimistic about understanding his fellow man who believes that? That's the patient's self-limiting belief.
I think it starts with less judgment and more empathy. If you are walking in by starting and just judging your clients and all of their misdeeds and all of their mistakes, you're not perfect. I could judge you. People can judge you for all the mistakes that you've made and the vices that you have and, maybe the lack of education in some areas. And so you'd made the wrong decisions sometimes. It's easy to judge people for wanting to keep up with the Joneses or to take that, vacation. Just a little more empathy. Just trying to understand your common man. Maybe this person has a really stressful job and getting away is just, that's what they look forward to once a year because their life sucks.
For you to even say that to me, it sounds like you've been talking to my ex-wife. Did she, I think, because he's reading from notes, Ryan. I think he talked to your mom. And then the other issue they have is this kind of is really head game. As a dentist, as a doctor of the oral cavity, you really want to do high quality work, but it's kind of sometimes hard to do real high quality work on a patient when they're never going to brush, they're never going to floss. When they leave, they're going to drink a 64-ounce Mountain Dew. How do you care about a patient's dentistry more than they care about it?
Well, of course you're gonna care about it more than they care about. This is your profession. You want to see that the work that you're doing is meaningful. Any teacher who's teaching about history wants to see that the kids are learning it and trying to understand the lessons of the history, not just memorizing some dates about some battle. It's really trying to tie it in so that the message sinks into their life. So this is where being a father becomes important. Carrying through whatever your one word core value is, bringing that into your practice, that's where it becomes important. So when I'm coming to you and I'm sitting in your chair and you're feeling my cavity and you're doing your best work, I'm also getting fatherly love and advice and wisdom, and hopefully in a way that reaches me, that maybe in a way that my father never could reach me. A lot of people, their best fathers were their coaches at school, or somebody, that they ran into, or a priest, or somebody in their community that wasn't their actual father. And so that's where, if all you're doing is yelling at them and saying, listen, this is going to happen to you and it's going to be really negative, and you don't take the time to kind of understand them and put yourself in their shoes and understand why they're not doing the behaviors, because the strategies will not help without the mindset. You could tell them all the strategies in the world, how to brush, how to floss, what tools to use, the exact regimen, but until they've committed, until they have the right mindset, they're never going to do it. The strategies will not help you until you've decided and you have the mindset. So that's your first job, is to get them there.
So what 2 world records did you set?
Oh, both of those were around kind of entrepreneurship and mentorship. First was the world's largest mentorship event, and I was one of the mentors, and we were doing speed mentoring, where a new entrepreneur would come in every 3 minutes. New entrepreneur, they pitch their idea, you give them feedback in 3 minutes, and we're raising money. And the second was we built the world's largest QR code for a group in a really impoverished area in my city, where they were trying to build an entrepreneurship program. And so we built, as a fundraising initiative, the world's largest QR code.
And what is your definition of an entrepreneur?
I don't get too worked up about these things. Like, I don't know what an entrepreneur is. Like, somebody who has an idea that they're trying to do something with. I don't get too worked up by labels and stereotypes. If somebody has a goal and they want to achieve something, I want to help them.
So there's a famous boxer in Phoenix named Carmichael. Are you aware of that?
I am not, but I'm a fan of the name.
Yeah, he's a really cool. Are you Hispanic? He's a Hispanic.
No.
Huh? He's a Hispanic boxer, lightweight, very very good. I've seen him, his mother, all that kind of stuff. And what's your deal with a Vespa? Why do you ride a Vespa? Tell them what a Vespa is.
So first of all, Carmichael is a Scottish name initially. So we have our own tartan and everything. So way back, we've a Carmichael clan. There's a castle in Scotland. That's the origin. So somewhere it kind of gets mixed in with some Latino blood for that boxer.
Well, Scottish is the most elemental part of America. It really is. I mean, America was built on Scottish. I mean, it's kind of an eerie story. 2 32-year-old Scots published a book in 1776. One was Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, and one was Thomas Jefferson, The Declaration of Independence. And America was for the first time in history, it was the collision of free people, Declaration of Independence, free markets, Adam Smith, and that collision, a quarter of a millennium ago, caused the largest economic explosion ever seen on Earth. And America would have been a very different country if it had been set up by, say, Catholics from France, Quebec, or Spanish. And if the Spanish would have set it up, it'd been more like Mexico and most of South America. If the Portuguese set it up, it'd be more like Brazil. But America is truly Scottish. I mean, it was those two men, the Wealth of Nations, Adam Smith, and Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration of Independence. I mean, America, you could say, is the result of 2 32-year-old Scots. I mean, it's a very amazing story that would have turned out very differently. It probably wouldn't have turned out at all. I mean, we'd be another Brazil if the Portuguese set us up. We'd be another Mexico if the Catholic Spaniards set us up. We're Scottish. And when we went to, we lectured in Glasgow last year, and they have a big statue of Adam Smith, and I actually thought it was a sacred place to see that man. I mean, that man changed the world. Him and Thomas Jefferson completely changed the entire world. And I always thought, what if one of them didn't exist? Like, what if you had Thomas Jefferson, but you didn't have free markets? Would you have had like an Argentina feudal system? What if you had free markets, but you didn't have free government? Like, you can't have free markets in communist China or the USSR or the Soviet Union. I mean, you needed both to take place, and it's the only thing that explains why Americans are 5% of the world's population and 27% of the global GDP.
I like the way your mind thinks, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is an amazing story. But anyway, what were you going to say before I interjected that?
You were just talking about other things. You talked about the Vespa. So here's the point of why I have that in my
You, you,
bio.
you
So
say you say the Vespa is not just a scooter; it's a way of life. How is your Vespa a way of life?
I love my Vespa. I love the Vespa as a way to get around. It's freedom. It's expression. Especially here in Toronto, we're allowed to park for free on the street. So in big cities, it's easy to get around and find parking. I
Tell them
think.
what it is. Tell them what it
Oh,
is.
it's a light motorcycle. It's a motorcycle without having to manually shift gears.
So it takes unleaded gas.
Yeah, it takes a little gas.
How many miles do you get to the gallon with it?
I don't know. I spend $5 to fill up for the week. It's solid.
Nice.
But the point of that, like all of these little personal things in my bio, most people's bios are really boring. Most people's, if I look at the dentist listening, look at your bio, it's going to be really, really, really boring. And so what's helpful is to pull out some things that are different, are interesting. Like, yes, tell me about what school you went to and, your credentials, great. But tell me something personal. Tell me, maybe you like doing angel investing in the companies. Maybe you love traveling to Argentina every year. Like, give me something a little more personal so that I can feel like I connect to you as a human being. And so I put stuff like that in my bio, that I like DJing, that I've set 2 world records, that I ride a Vespa, other personal things as well, because it creates some talking points, but also humanizes the person much more than just reading the bio on a piece of paper.
Yeah, it's true, because one of the things I romantically felt even liking you more was when I see your involvement with Kiva.org. Dreams are universal, opportunity is not. I tell my boys all the time that every single person born in the United States, Canada, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, they all come from the Lucky Sperm Club. And
Sure.
you would not have had that luck if you'd have been born in many other countries. And so tell them about Kiva. Why are you involved with Kiva?
So Kiva is a group that helps fundraise for entrepreneurs around the world, and a lot of these fundraising initiatives are not very big. It's I need $100 to buy some chickens and a fence, and that's enough to just support that family, and then eventually they can hire people, and it's a great kind of little business for them. So we've raised over $100,000 for Kiva, and that just goes into countries. We picked Africa because somebody on my team is kind of dedicated to Africa, and just goes to supporting different entrepreneurs in getting started. They're little microloan programs, and so it encourages them to pay the money back, and then that money goes to another entrepreneur.
I just retweeted at Kiva to my 21,000 dentist homies, and their last tweet was just in. The Kiva community has surpassed funding $1 billion in loans. That is so damn cool. So would you call this microloans? Is that kind of the terminology? Microloans?
Yeah, they're microloans. So it's not a gift. It's not a, hey, here's $1,000, do whatever you want with it. It's, okay, here's $1,000 and you're paying us back. And there are reasonable interest rates until they pay back the loan, and then they use that money, and it's like 90+% repayment. So they have a really good track record. And then what happens is the other people in the community know that if this one person pays their loan back, other people will get loans as well. And so there's like community pressure built in that they all want to help this person become successful, because if that person pays back their loan, then they have a chance of getting one as well to build their own little business. And so that's the idea. It's a little loan. You pay it back, and then the money is used to go support another entrepreneur.
And also, most everyone listens to me. 85% are on an hour commute to work. The rest are on a treadmill or whatever. And they can't take notes, so they go to me at Howard Farran, and I retweet them so they can find my guests. I just retweeted you at Evan Carmichael, and I just retweeted you. I started a live stream on YouTube, so I just retweeted your. My God, you got 233,000 followers, man. You are huge. What do you mean when you say you're from Toronto, Prince's # ENT City? What's ENT City mean?
So ENT City is part of a branding campaign that I've created here, just like we talked about before. you want to think about as a dentist, when you show up to work, you're making your community better. I take that mentality everywhere I go. So I call Toronto my home. Toronto needs to get better because I am here. And that's not from a egotistical point of view that I'm just amazing God that will rain glory everywhere. I want to feel like wherever I go, like you said, you're leaving the world a little bit better than when you first came. And so my passion is entrepreneurs. I believe entrepreneurs will change the world. And so I want to help in my community more entrepreneurs. I want to be an inspiration for the entrepreneurs that I see on a regular basis to do better, to reach further, to have a bigger impact, to take on more responsibility.
I love what you say on your Twitter account. It says, at Evan Carmichael, I believe in people more than they believe in themselves. And I hope that you see what I see in you so you can change the planet. And I have to say, my boys are 22, 24, 26, 28. And right now I believe more in them than they believe in themselves because they're just babies finding their way from the planet. But I think that's so cool how you say that. You believe in people more than they believe in themselves. Because one of the problems about getting older is when you get older and older and older, you start to get more and more cynical. Where you just start. I mean, old people. They're just more likely to. What are you gonna do? People are crazy. People are batshit crazy. People. It seems like a lot of older people get kind of jaded. A lot of my patients that are. I know some of the most jaded patients I have are police officers and firemen because they've seen so much of the bad stuff for so long. Or soldiers returning from Afghanistan and Iraq. A lot of them are they're almost dead inside. They've seen so much of the bad stuff that they're kind of a big part of them died. I mean, and you're still in this fresh area where you believe in people more than believe in themselves. What would you say to kids who came back from their fort tour in Afghanistan, Iraq, or the police officer who's just retired, who's, 5 times a night he's knocking on somebody's door where some man's beating the crap out of his wife? I mean, they've seen it all. How do you stay optimistic in a jaded world?
So first off, trauma is a real thing and is a medical condition and could be worth getting checked out if that's you. Like, it's hard to see your best friend's arm being blown off or face being torn apart. And so I have a lot of empathy for the people who are coming home from having seen that, both from, fighting overseas, but also first responders, ambulance, fire. So trauma is a real thing. I think, though, for people who have seen a lot, it's just having a sense of importance, having a sense of a mission. Like, you could build some of the greatest movements have been started from the depths of the greatest pain. It's what you choose to do with that pain. Can you see a way through? Your example of your 2 friends who both had alcoholic fathers, and one decided to make that a negative and one decided to make that a positive. The greatest movements have been born from the greatest pain. And so do you see yourself as the person who can go out and create that positive change? If you feel like you're doing something important, that can help get you through. Look at something like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Why was that started? It's trying to be a force for good out of a lot of pain and sorrow, instead of just living in that negative world to say we're going to do something good about it. For the people who you might just say are old and crusty, who maybe haven't been through a lot of trauma, I think progress is happiness. And I think when you stop learning and growing as a human being, you stop becoming happy. When you just fall into a routine and you're doing the same thing day in, day out, over and over and over and over again, and there's no growth for yourself somehow. I mean, you have this podcast, you have this show, you get to bring on new guests all the time and learn from them and converse and have discussions and dialogue. For people who stop doing that, who stop learning, who stop progressing, who stop trying to get better and grow, that's when they stop becoming happy. And the longer that lasts, the crappier you're going to become.
I want to change gears slightly because a lot of the old and crusty and burned out dentists also have a lot of physical pain because they sat there in a chair leaning over their head, looking directly in the mouth, their necks all jacked up, their lower back. I have so many 60-year-old dentists that had their upper cervix fused, their lower spine fused, and you're at a stand-up desk wearing 5-toed shoes And I really believe your physical condition is very related to your mental condition. And people that are dealing with pain and suffering, it's easy to get into depression and agitation. Why do you do a stand-up desk? And what's the five-toed shoes about? And what would you say to a young dentist coming out of dental school and say, hey, look at your dad. He's a dentist and he's hobbling around because he sat in a chair with his head bent over for 30, 40 years. Look at your dad and don't end up like your dad.
Sure. So for me, I had a lot of back and knee issues in my 20s. I was going to go see a chiropractor every week, and I was being kind of electrocuted on the back and custom orthotics and insoles and all of this stuff in my early 20s. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm in my early 20s. Like, this should not be happening, And so I, at the time, then decided, okay, I'm going to research alternative methods. I'm going to look at other ways that I might be able to heal my body myself. And I came across a stand-up desk. Now it's actually really popular. At the time, nobody had heard of it, but it's, there's all sorts of articles about how sitting is the new smoking and all of this stuff. But I tried it, and you just can't stand up all day. It takes practice to get into it. And I'm barefoot most of the day. I'm barefoot right now talking to you. And five-toe shoes are kind of the closest thing to being able to go barefoot when you walk outside. And that saved me. I'm 37 years old now. My back and my knees are better than they were when I was in my early 20s. So I think there's a lot of options that you can look at beyond just the way most people do things. If I was giving advice to a dentist, I would say, there are some realities of the job. You have to get in and look inside that person's mouth. That's the reality of the job. You want to check to make sure that your hygienist did a good job in cleaning. It's what are you doing on the off time? Like, what's your posture like when you're back in your office? Are you hunched then over again at your desk and looking through notes and making phone calls? Like, there's a lot of work that you're doing that's not peering into somebody's mouth. And what does your posture look like in those times? I would guess that it's pretty terrible. And so it's not just about the time you're spending working, it's all the other times around it.
So why are you barefoot right now?
The combination of not wearing shoes, like if you walk barefoot enough, it changes the way that you walk. So most people do the heel strike. So you like hit the heel, then the rest of your foot, because we have these super cushiony shoes. If you can't do that when you go barefoot. You can't do that when you wear the five-toe shoes. It just helps me. Like my knee pain and my back pain are gone. When I use a stand-up desk and when I'm barefoot most of the time, I don't have back or knee pain. So it's as simple as that for working for me.
When I turned 50, I was so fat and out of shape, I decided I was going to go to an extreme level. I signed up and I did the Ironman 3 years in a row in Arizona, where you got to swim 2.1 miles, bike 112, then run a full marathon. And I noticed when you started running how all the elite athletes say that the only way you can ever learn proper running is to run barefoot. And if you ran like you ran with Nikes on, you'd be busting up your feet. And just because you don't feel it with Nikes, you're still busting up your feet. And when you run barefoot, it's almost like you're sneaking up behind someone so they won't hear you. And when you run down the sidewalk or the street and you don't want barefoot, you have to run like you're kind of sneaking up behind someone. It's kind of a prancing type run. And that's how you're supposed to run. And then you can add your Asics on your feet, but you still need to run like that. And it's kind of barefoot running is interesting. Have you ever gone barefoot running?
I haven't, and I'm not a runner. And people ask me all the time because the five-toe shoes are running shoes. They're worn by a lot of runners. Basically, you're supposed to be running flat foot, and most people run heeled, then the rest of the foot heeled, and that can do a lot of destruction to your body. So I am not a runner. I don't use them for running, but I just use them for when I'm outside, and it helps. And I'm not prescribing this, so like this is a solution for everybody, but by using a stand-up desk and by going barefoot most of the day and using those shoes, I got rid of my back and knee pain, and I'm happy.
And I taught all my boys how to do that because they're always running from the law, and the police are always chasing them. So that helped them immensely. My gosh, So I can't believe you've been on here. This has been an amazing hour. Again, just put on your arm psychology hat. Here's another big psychological issue. These kids come out of school, they go get a job as an associate. They need to practice, doing their fillings or crowns or root canals. But some people, after just a year or two, jump out and open their own practice. Other people are scared, and that takes them 4 or 5 years. Some takes 10 years. And so many dentists that waited 8, 10, 12 years, they always say to me 20 years later, God, I wish I didn't wait 10 years. And so they're afraid. What would you say? There's a 25-year-old girl listening to you. She's commuting to work. She's an associate, and she hates all the rules. She doesn't agree with so much stuff that the older dentist does. She wants to have her own place, but gosh, she's got a secure job. She's making $150,000 a year, and she just gets a pit in her stomach. Like, how do you want to walk away from $150,000 a year? Great job. My life's perfect, but I want to own my own place. That seems so scary and frightening. How do you get the guts to jump when you're making 6 figures a year and life is good, but you are seduced? Wouldn't it be really cool to own my own damn dental office? But I'm afraid. She's scared.
You make the fear of regret bigger. So you fast forward to life at 70 or 80 or 90 or however old we're going to live to be, on 230 by the time we all get there, and say, am I going to regret not doing this? So
you say make the regret bigger than the fear?
Exactly.
Is that what you just said?
Yeah. What you should do is be comfortable with failing, but uncomfortable with not knowing. Because that fear of regret will eat you up. So that job is going to be there for you in a year. You know what? If it doesn't work out, that job will be there. Or if not with that person, you can get a job somewhere else, the same job. You can go back and get a job like that. That kind of job is always going to be available to you if you're good at what you do. The business, how long do you want to wait? And you're going to beat yourself up. Like fast forward 10 years. Say like it's still been 10 years. I haven't done this yet. How upset am I? And then take action on it.
I tell them, there's never a good time to have a kid or start your own business. So just do it. I mean, when I decided to have kids, we had 4 boys in 60 months. I graduated May 11th, had my office open September 21st. Yeah, those were crazy times. But you're going to have crazy times. Better just go dive in now and get it over with. I mean, you're not going to drown. Dive in the pool and learn how to swim. Yeah,
but they may drown too. Like maybe it doesn't work out.
Well, in dentistry,
it's a pretty high rate.
The bank data, only 0.4% of new dental office loans default. So 99.6% don't default. I mean, dentists always, whine that there's so much competition, but there's really not competition in dentistry when you have a 0.4% failure rate. What's the failure rate of a new restaurant in Toronto?
Oh, huge.
What do you think it'd be?
Oh, the opposite, 99.6%.
Yeah. So when you look at restaurants, 4 out of 5 will go bankrupt in 24 months in Phoenix, Arizona, and dentists are 0.4%. You know why dentists go bankrupt? It's always the same thing. They got their license taken away. Why did they get their license taken away? Drugs, alcohol, got arrested, something, insurance fraud. So basically, if you're not a drunk on drugs or doing fraud, you're not going to drown in dentistry. I mean, that's why you went to school for 8 years, to have this protective moat around your business, calling, anybody can open up a dry cleaner, a mani-pedi, or a Mexican restaurant. But to open up a dental office, you need this little thing called a dental degree. And for every gazillion people that apply to school, the school up the street only accepts 60. So it's massively limited competition. So you're not going bankrupt. So they're not going to drown. So why does she sit there for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years when every time you see her, she keeps saying, I want to open up my own? And then I'm just like, well, then do it. Just do it. Quit talking, do it. How could you push her out the door? How do you push that little birdie out of the nest and say, go fly and build your own nest?
This is a mindset issue that is much more important than just opening a dental practice, because you're right, the numbers are there. It makes sense. It's logical. But the same mindset should be applied even if the risk of failure were much higher. Even if the risk of failure was 90%. to still do it, because the knowledge and certainty that it will not work is better than the fear of the unknown. It's like you really want to ask that girl out to go for dinner, or you want to ask for her number, you want to make that up. It may not work. She may reject you. But the opposite case is you don't ever ask, and you live the rest of your life in regret to say, what if I just asked? And so it's much better to have certainty and to know than to not know, and to take that approach into every major decision that you ever make in your life. It makes a lot of sense by the numbers and data in the dentistry world to just go out and do it. But you'll have more of these, like, as the next case, well, maybe I should hire somebody. When do I hire my first hygienist? When do I hire a receptionist at the front? You know, that percentage chance of working out may not be 99.6%. So how long do you wait? Anytime there is a fear of regret, then you know you have to go out and take action immediately. Make the fear of regret bigger than the fear of failure in the moment.
Okay, you've been so kind to come on. I mean, you're a big fish in the big ocean. I'm a big fish in a little fishbowl called dentistry. To come on my show, give me an hour of your precious time. But I got you for 2 more minutes. It's 58 minutes. So final question. Here's another problem she has. She gets out of school. She's 25. She practices for 2 or 3 years. She buys her own practice. And she claims that since she's 28 years old, she bought the office. All those girls have been in the office 20, 30 years. She's 28 and she's managing a bunch of 58-year-old women, and they say that they're not really respecting her as a leader. How does a 28-year-old girl manage and be a leader to a bunch of 58-year-old women, and when the women are saying, honey bunny, I've been doing this for 30 years, you just got out of dental kindergarten school, I could school you on insurance and business and marketing. So how do you be a leader when everybody around you's got 30 more years of experience than you?
So respect starts with self-respect. You have to respect yourself and know that what you're doing is right. You have to carry yourself a certain way. Now, there's domain expertise, which doesn't really have a lot to do with leadership. So maybe that person's been doing it for 30 years in insurance. Like, maybe she's right. Maybe she does know more than you about insurance. That's why you've hired her, right? Like, you're hiring people who should be better at what you know in that field. That's the whole point of bringing on a team, is they're experts at what they do. But that has nothing to, like, domain expertise has nothing to do with leadership or respect. If you want to gain respect of people, you need to respect yourself first. You can be a leader and push them without having to know more than they do about insurance.
Well, man, I could listen to you for 40 days and 40 nights. I hope everybody goes and buys your book, One Word. You can find more about him, Evan Carmichael, just like it's spelled Car, C-A-R, and Michael, M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Evan is E-V-A-N, evancarmichael.com. You're an amazing man. This show is so honored to get a big whale like you to come on and talk to my homies today. Thank you so much for spending an hour with a bunch of dentists. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the love, Howard.
All right, buddy. Have a rockin' hot day and enjoy those Blue Jays.
Oh, man. Don't get me started.
I'll go watch the Diamondbacks while you go watch the Blue Jays. It's kind of funny. We have the same stadium for different reasons. We both have a covered stadium with a retractable roof. Yeah. Phoenix is because it's 118 degrees outside and they got a bunch of air conditioners on. Toronto because it's cold and they have a bunch of heaters on.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Howard. Cheers.